measurements are useful and reviews are great, but nothing compares to placing 3 projectors side by side and filming them with the exact same camera settings, if you know what you are doing, of course. The Nebula X1 recently received a beta firmware update that adds a very strong and clever dynamic contrast system, and it also turned the iris into a dynamic one. The dynamic contrast algorithm now have 5 levels, and here, in this extreme dark scene, you can see what it really does to the image. Pretty impressive, isn't it? The improvement in contrast is dramatic, as you can see. In my opinion, this new firmware puts the X1 in the big league now, right next to the Aetherion MAX. A video comparing those two will come soon, don't worry. The firmware is still in beta and it has some serious bugs. For example, it does not work properly with Dolby Vision content or applies incorrect gamma in some HDR content. Until the final firmware arrives with these issues resolved, I simply wanted to show you what to expect whether you already own the projector or are thinking about buying one. First, let's look at each projector on its own and see what kind of improvement their iris systems and dynamic contrast algorithms can offer, starting with a Nebula. In the first image, the X1 is playing with all contrast enhancements disabled, in the second with the iris engaged in its minimum position, and in the third image, I have enabled dynamic contrast at its maximum level 5. I believe the difference that the iris and dynamic contrast offer is quite clear here. The second projector is the Nexigo Aurora MK2, one of the best UST projectors on the market right now. Unfortunately, you cannot use laser dimming and the iris separately. So, here you are watching two images, the first with SAE disabled and the second with SAE enabled at ultra with a dynamic iris set to bright. The third projector is the newer AWOL Vision Aetherion. In the first image, all contrast enhancement features are disabled. In the second, I have set the iris to its most aggressive position, Cinema 2, and in the third image, I have also enabled the famous EBL. Now that you have a first taste of the three contenders, let's move to the main shootout, which I have split into 3 parts. All 3 projectors were tested on ALR screens with the same gain of 0.6. The Nebula was tested on a Selection Dynamic Slate ALR screen, while the 2 UST projectors were tested on a Vivistone Flow Rising CLR screen, also with a 0.6 gain. Here you can see the 3 projectors playing with native contrast only. The MK2 offers the best native contrast of all. Second, I would say very closely, comes the Aetherion, which is also noticeably brighter than the MK2. And third is the X1, which has the lowest native contrast in this comparison. I have to say that this is not only the best filming I have ever done, but one of the best, if not the best, you can find out there. With this new filming and editing technique, I also took YouTube compression into account, so the final result exceeded even my own expectations. Time for these projectors to show us some of their magic. I engaged the Nebula iris at its minimum position and set the Aetherion iris to its most aggressive setting, the Cinema 2. On the MK2 I enabled SAE, set laser dimming to ultra and the iris to bright. I wanted to see how the Nebula and Aetherion perform using only their irises, with their dynamic contrast algorithms disabled next to the MK2. Not bad at all, I would say. The X1 and the Aetherion, even if they cannot exactly match the blacks of the MK2, deliver an overall performance that is simply excellent. With the Cinema 2 iris settings on the Aetherion, which is probably the most aggressive one, the projector, apart from adjusting the iris position, also automatically adjusts gamma and white balance accordingly. The result is really impressive. The MK2 is a beast, a true black level and contrast beast. It delivers by far the most relaxing and cinematic image of the three. If this projector had 7 or 800 lumens more and didn't require a degree of nuclear physics of course to calibrate it, like it does now, we would be talking about the ultimate UST projector in my opinion. Now it's time for the final boss, guys. Let's enable everything. The improvement in contrast when all contrast enhancement systems are enabled, it's truly impressive. The black levels of the three projectors become very close. Unfortunately, the dynamic tone mapping of the Nebula does not help maintain the HDR character of the image when dynamic contrast is enabled and the picture starts to look closer to HDR with dim and flat highlights. The Nexigo, on the other hand, is the JVC of DLP projectors. Deep blacks, balanced gamma, but like the Nebula, it has two main drawbacks: lower overall brightness and weaker tone mapping compared to, of course, the Aetherion. The dynamic tone mapping on HDR and Dolby Vision content on the Aetherion is on another level. It's not just about brightness. The projector has the ability to push the translation of dynamic metadata to its limits, delivering the most three-dimensional and truly high dynamic range image of all three, by far. The ABL, while not yet in its final form and still having some serious drawbacks, is the thing. It lowers the blacks while pushing the highlights even further. This is exactly what we want in HDR content. This is exactly what we call HDR. See for yourself in these images and I'm sure you will understand exactly what I mean. Here, the Aetherion and the Nebula are very close in terms of brightness, with the Aetherion being slightly brighter. The Nexigo again offers the most natural, relaxed and cinematic image overall, as I told you before, but the lack of brightness becomes very obvious when placed next to light cannons like the Aetherion and the Nebula. There are bright sunshine scenes that feel more like cloudy ones compared to the other two projectors. I want to thank you for watching another Chasing the Ultimate Contrast episode here at Projector Junkies. I'm sorry for my voice, flu got me, and as always, see you all in the next one.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey. Yeah. The jig is up. Yeah. I came too far, I ain't giving up. Hey. I had to cut what was weighing me down, and then when you grow, they say that you switching up. Hit the perimeter. Defending the fort, we crushing the visitors. I got it locked, ain't taking a prisoner. Thought it was sweet until they chin hit with a finisher. Heartbreak, Nikki, I'm voiding the slips. I'm raising the stakes, enjoying the risk. Injecting my veins with ice, as cold as it gets. I live for this shit. Die as a legend, I ride with aggression. I lost in the past, it's fine, it's a lesson. I'm loading the clips, I fire the weapons and taking what's mine. It's time for redemption. Yeah. What's mine? jig is up, yeah. I came too far, I ain't giving up. Hey, I had to cut what was weighing me down. And then when you grow, they say that you switching up. Hit the perimeter, defending the fort, we question the visitors. I got it locked, ain't taking a prisoner. Thought it was sweet until they chin hit with a finisher. Heartbreak Nicky, I'm voiding the slips. I'm raising the stakes, enjoying the risk. Injecting my veins with ice, as cold as it gets. I live for this shit. Die as a legend, I ride with aggression. I lost in the past, it's fine, it's a lesson. I'm loading the clips, I fire the weapons and taking what's mine.